from their unique and unusual appearance, pineapples are incredible. I've just purchased this one. It's not quite ripe. I'm going to give it a couple of days before enjoying it, and I'm taking a time lapse of it ripening up. It should turn a yellow colour that we expect to see in pineapples, and we should be able to watch it back quickly at the end of this video. But while I'm waiting for it to ripen, I thought we might have a chat about some interesting pineapple facts, from where they come from, how they grow, why they were a status symbol in 17th century Britain, why they're on pizzas, and why pineapples are one of the only foods which will eat you right back. It's been a bit over a day now, and whilst it's ripening up, it's still not quite prime and ready to go. So, what kind of plants do pineapples grow on? I want you to picture it in your head, and if you know the answer to this, shh, don't tell anyone. Imagine in your head what kind of a plant a pineapple grows on. Well, they grow on trees, for sure. They're up there in the tree with a trunk, and they're hanging from the tree branches. Well, no, pineapples are a kind of bromeliad, and they grow on a shrub, and their plants look a bit like this. Don't they look funny? So the crown is actually the top, and it attaches to the stalk from underneath. I'm not going to pick it up now because I'll disturb the time lapse. Pineapples come from tropical South America, where they're not very fussy plants. They don't need a lot of water, and they don't need a lot of nutrition, but they do need warm temperatures, and they do need well-draining soil. They cannot survive in cooler climates, and they really hate poorly draining soil. I just have one fruit here, don't I? Well, not exactly. Flowers form fruit, which can then grow seeds so that a plant can reproduce itself. And pineapples grow inflorescences, which are stalks which have lots of flowers coming out of them. Most pineapples have at least 200 flowers on an inflorescence. Some can grow even more than that. Now, each flower turns into a fruit once it's pollinated. So once the flowers are pollinated, each flower turns into an individual fruit. Then, as the fruits grow, they grow together to form a multiple fruit, or a collective fruit. And there are a few different kinds of plants which do this, and pineapples are one of them. It's a bit like how in Voltron there are mini-mechs and they come together to form a mega-mech. Well, pineapples do essentially the same thing, where lots of little fruits come together to form a big fruit. And the core on the inside of the pineapple is actually just the leftover stalk from the inflorescence. I have a painting I'd like to show you. This is a painting called Charles II Presented with a Pineapple. This was painted in the late 17th century. At first glance, this might seem like a pretty weird painting. We have a gardener, possibly a man named John Rose, presenting King Charles II with a pineapple. To us, this might seem a bit unusual. This is a fine painting, which a man presents the king with a pineapple. And several renditions of this painting were created. So what's the big deal? What's the deal with pineapples? It is said that this is the first pineapple ever grown in Britain, although judging by the time that this painting was created, it is much more likely that this pineapple was imported. Pineapples absolutely cannot stand cold weather. They will just die. They need warm tropical weather to be able to grow. And England is not a warm place. Many places experience snow during the winter. This is not a good place for pineapples to grow, and in fact, pineapples cannot grow outdoors in England. The whole of the United Kingdom now is a terrible place to grow pineapples. Christopher Columbus was responsible for introducing Europeans to pineapples in the late 16th century. On one of his trips, he tasted one and decided that it was quite good, so he took some back to Europe, where lots of other people decided that they were quite good as well. Some colonisers described pineapples as being far beyond the choicest fruits of Europe. They quickly became very popular in Britain, but there was a problem. It was impossible to grow pineapples in Britain, so they all had to be imported, which in the 16th, 17th century, 18th century was not an easy task. The journey from South America, where they were grown, to England was over 4 months long, and they didn't have refrigeration. And so many pineapples that were taken from South America to Europe spoiled on the journey. So pineapples were incredibly rare and were therefore extremely expensive. Only the richest of the rich could afford to have pineapples, and they were often placed as a centerpiece for parties where hosts would display their wealth for all of their guests. They were a sign of wealth, good fortune, and generosity. There are even reports of people renting out pineapples for the evening so that hosts could impress their guests. The iconic shape of a pineapple makes it really memorable. People knew what they were. There was artworks done of pineapples. They were becoming quite an icon. During this period of time, a single pineapple would cost about 11,000 Australian dollars or 8,000 US dollars. So they were quite a spectacle. But I bought this one for $6, which is a bit on the steep side. Not 11,000. So what happened? During the 18th century, people in Britain began using hothouses or greenhouses to keep tropical plants in their otherwise unsuitable climate. This allowed for the pineapple to be able to be grown in England, which would be able to greatly reduce the cost because there was a lot more of them available. Since the popularisation of pineapples, pineapple plantations and farms have popped up all throughout the tropical regions of the world. And through the development of more efficient shipping and refrigeration, you can now buy pineapples all over the globe. These developments in technology have brought down the price significantly. The pineapple became the cause for global division thanks to a Greek immigrant. In 1962, Sam Poulopoulos added pineapple to his ham and cheese pizza and called it the Hawaiian Pizza in his Ontario restaurant in Canada. He wasn't sure how it'd go. He was experimenting with lots of different flavors at the time. He thought that the sweet and savory combination was nice. But why did this Greek immigrant call a pizza in Canada a Hawaiian pizza? Well, the answer's not as glamorous as you might think. The creator used canned pineapple and the brand on the can was Hawaiian. He used Hawaiian pineapples, the brand, to make his Hawaiian pizza, and that's how it got its name. At the time, Hawaii was responsible for a big portion of the world's pineapples, and lots of the first pineapple plantations were established in Hawaii. These days, only about 2% of the global supply of pineapples come from Hawaii. Most pineapples are grown in South America, in the tropical areas, but there are other plantations around the world as well. But should pineapples go on pizza? Well, it depends who you ask. It's totally up to the individual. Depending on which survey you look at, generally it's a 50-50 split between yes, they should go on pizza and no, they don't belong on pizza. What do I think? Well, my go-to pizza order is a capricciosa, and I don't mind the extra olives and extra anchovies, thank you. So my taste of savoury saltiness doesn't really fit a pineapple. So no, I don't like pineapples on my pizzas. The pineapple is ready to eat. Let's check the time lapse, and whilst it plays, I'm going to prepare it to eat. Alright, we've prepared it and it's time to give it a try. It's so sweet and juicy. What an incredible fruit. But have you ever noticed that when you eat pineapple, you get a bit of a funny feeling in your mouth? There might be a bit of a tingle, might feel a bit rough, maybe even if you eat enough of it, it might sting a little bit. Why is that? Well,
That's because pineapple contains an enzyme called bromelain, and bromelain is a proteolytic enzyme, which is a digestive enzyme. It's used by lots of organisms to digest proteins, which means that when you eat pineapple, it eats you right back, but it's nothing to worry about. Our body is really good at regenerating cells, and it's neutralized in our stomachs anyway. So our stomach acids neutralize the bromelain. But I think it's pretty cool that pineapples try to eat you back. So there's nothing to worry about. You can continue eating your pineapples without worry it's going to eat you entirely. So there we have it. Pineapples are a tropical multiple fruit that originates from the tropics of South America. It was adored by British aristocrats, but is now widely available. Some people put it on pizza, and it eats you. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love to know in the comments below, and with that like button. Also, make sure you're subscribed to That's Pretty Cool so that you don't miss any future cool videos about a bunch of different interesting things. And if you have a suggestion for a future video, something that you think is pretty cool, please post that in the comments as well. I'm now going to go and enjoy the rest of my pineapple. You take care, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.